Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it's the 11th day of October 2024. Welcome to our show today. First off, we're going to start talking about preparedness off the grid with Dr. David Kent, Karen the Riveter, and Ralph the IT guy. And then after that, Lori Brock is going to be on at 10 o'clock and we're going to be talking about how they have removed the entire board from Green Township in Michigan. This is kind of an amazing story because they had the Goshen battery plant that was trying to move in on them. We the people got together up there in Mecosta County and said, no, ain't happening. And now they have taken it one step further and removed their entire board. And the stories are really funny because you can't just, people in office, and this is, we want to point to the people that are on the top, like Gretchen Whitmer, you know, the Gretchen and Nessel and Benson and Brader. But this systemic corruption goes all the way down into our communities. And to see a community have such success is just really inspiring. So we're going to start off with Off the Grid, and then we'll go to Lori Brock. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Friday.
Good morning. I love all your cute, happy, cheerful good mornings. I want to share something with you guys. This is going to be kind of fun. And we're going to talk about preparedness and disaster because we've had plenty of them. I want to share this with you this morning. Guess what this is?
Tornado or hurricane? Your house.
That is part of my place down on Anna Maria Island that is basically completely blown apart. Do you remember when the straight line winds came through here in the 90s and every news channel came on with a stupid, ridiculous headline, blown apart, the disaster in West Michigan? Well, pretty much the island is completely a disaster. And I mean a disaster. We're talking 5 feet of sand over all the roads. We will not have power back there for at least, I don't know, they're saying 2 months maybe. Wow. And the amount of destruction is just incredible. And of course, on the barrier islands, you're not going to get insurance on any of this. So it's a crapshoot on whether you're going to survive it. And like for us, it was kind of worth it for me because our place wasn't that expensive. It was just a little nothing place that I could drop my suitcases and go and head out to the beach or walk or whatever. You know, I do a lot of walking when I'm down there and such, and just being active in the middle of winter. But the point being is that if you go to and you have property on these barrier islands, you have to realize that you're taking a lot of risk. So quite honestly, I know a lot of people have felt really bad for me because, you know, we had these 2 little places down there and one of them is still standing, but we had to tear all the cabinets out. We lost every single thing inside of this. Cabinets are gone. We've got walls, but that's about it. Wow. So this one, the second one, Milton, we didn't have the storm surge, but what we had was high winds, and that just basically just decimated everything. And now we've got another one that's headed for the same area, probably going to be another direct hit, but we don't know yet. And so I know I've had a lot of people that have been, you know, feeling really bad about it. And I'm like, don't feel bad. I'm like, quite honestly, if God wanted this to miss us, he would have. So I'm just taking this as okay, he's got another plan, another adventure, and not looking at this as a big disaster as I'm sure a lot of people would have. So,
was that a house on the water, like on the beach, or was it up further inland?
I was literally about 25 feet off of Sarasota Bay. So I was right on the bay. Wow. And so I mean, literally to walk out the door there was to be about 25 feet off of Sarasota Bay. Wow. So right on the water. And so the thing of it is that I was going to do some work there, and Bradenton Beach was not super cooperative on getting anything done. So I've been struggling with this place a little bit because nobody wanted to work on it and get things done. And when you're on the islands, everything works differently. Absolutely everything works differently. So in a way, it is what it is. But
I'm sure it's very corrupt.
Enjoyed my time down there. I will have to say that I do believe that there's a decent amount of human trafficking that goes on in those islands, just like everywhere else. And I did turn somebody in at one point in time where it was indisputable proof that that's what was going on. And I think that a lot of the things we're seeing in these disaster zones are, honestly, if they save one kid, or if they can bring down one network, and I lost absolutely everything, it would be worth it for me. You know, what's the price of a human life? What if it was you? What if it was your kids? Would it be worth it? It would for me. And if we could save somebody else's kids or something else, it still would be worth it for me. And so I'm not crying any tears here, guys. God has a plan, and we just need to trust him, whether it's everything is good, or if there's difficulties, or good or bad. Good things come out of everything.
Well, Disney is underwater.
Well, that's kind of a good thing. Hopefully they flooded all the tunnels. Yeah.
That's a strange place. I need to do some research on it. I don't understand how they're having this war with the governor, DeSantis, like over the ownership. It's like its own little country or something, like DC or something.
Well, it is.
They set up their own local government there. That was part of basically when they bought all the land for Disney World. They bought it up under a whole bunch of different little shell companies so that they could get hold of all of the land under different names without anybody figuring out what they were doing.
Okay.
Once they did that, they basically set up their own town and made it so that it's composed of only the people who live there are allowed to vote, right? But they have to be permanent residents. And so what they do is, as I understand it, any of the properties there within this district that they've created, any of the properties are pretty much only available as rental units and for only short terms, so that it's short enough that no one gets permanent residency status, except for the ones that the Disney board figures are going to vote with them.
Okay. So, but do they have like, it seemed to me like the state has no authority over what they're doing. I remember it started with the schools and what they were allowed to be taught, and DeSantis banned it for the state of Florida, but they said, screw you. And they're in some kind of major war right now.
Well, it's kind of, I hate to say it, but it's kind of supposed to be that way, where the communities dictate to the state rather than the state to dictate to the communities. Okay. Yeah. But the only ones that got it right is Disney, and the ones that got it wrong was all of us who have patronized them and gone down there to play. You know, if you disagree with what they're doing, boycott them. And if the money stops flowing to them, if they stop having a reason to exist, if they're doing something wrong, you just got to stop participating in funding them. But you know, there's certain things that certainly there's certain things that a governor can do under emergency situations. I believe we have 43 declared national emergencies right now that would give a governor that had the guts the ability to straighten this mess out. But what are we seeing? Not one of them seems to have the guts to do this. And that's a concerning thing. Did you see what Whitmer did this week?
No.
Oh, for gosh sakes. Talk about Loserville. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can pull this up a minute. Talk amongst yourselves a minute, and I'm going to see if I can bring this up. But Loserville Whitmer kind of like went completely and totally off her rocker, and I mean totally off her rocker on deciding to make a choice. Hang on a minute.
Like she's getting desperate.
Yeah, well, your face. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just so in our face right now that cheating, you know, and in California, how it's illegal now to ask for voter ID. They'll put you in jail if you even ask for it. Like there's
California.
So blatant. Like they got to be scared of something big time.
In California, they don't even really need to. They don't even need to cheat that hard because they've already got it set up such that their votes are always going to go one way anyway, because they won't let the North Californians have any kind of say in anything.
But maybe enough people woke up in California. I mean, you just have to be like so ignorant if you lived in California just to not to vote for more Democrats. It's like,
well, they've had about a 30-year struggle, I think, now to try and get North California has been trying to split off from South California into the state of Jefferson.
Yeah.
And they've been fighting that battle for probably 30 years now. So we'll see. Some of this, it may get bad enough that it'll actually get people enough motivation to do it.
Okay, this is my X channel, and check this out. Check this nonsense out. That is like so creepy. I can't even. It's just so creepy. It's like she's giving communion, a Doritos communion, to this person that's sitting at her feet.
So this was part of a podcast interview. So I think the other woman set it up, and she also asked her, oh, what was it she asked her? Because I found out later, and I shared a little bits of the interview. It might take me a minute to remember what she had said during that, but it was about abortion. She said something about post-birth abortion, and Whitmer said it doesn't exist, and she was laughing at it. The woman asked her if something about her daughters, was she set up a post-birth abortion for daughters or something like that, and it was just so stupid, and they're mocking it like mocking the communion. They've completely lost touch with reality. It seems like this is where I had written a Substack about the screaming bobcat. I keep coming back to that lately because when an animal like a bobcat is trapped, it sees the hunter coming, and all it can do is scream, because or when you get really close, lash out at you, which is where we're coming closer to that now. But in the meantime, they scream because they're trying to intimidate you somehow. Yeah. That's all they've got. And so that's what we see Hillary Clinton do, and some of the mainstream media and the journalists and other politicians. Obama is doing things that just don't seem to make sense. Biden and Harris are going opposite of each other in the things that they're saying, and he seems to be working actively against her now. It's a fun show if you're watching from where we sit.
Well, even looking at Whitmer's face in this, it's like it is so over the top that I can't even really take this seriously, other than the fact that it's an absolute mockery of a lot of people's faith.
Yeah.
And, and it just absolutely was intended to be the most offensive that they could possibly be. And I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I'm just kind of done with her and all the nonsense that's gone on around the, the people that are running this entire country, honestly, because nothing's really been going the way it's supposed to. Who was it? Neil Gorsuch was on and was actually talking about how much of the government really is just incredible bloat that needs to be gone. And I'm going to tell you what, 90% of what we have needs to be gone. But the problem is that we've got so many people that would not be able to survive if they weren't being handed something that the rest of us were carrying. They don't even realize that someone else is having to produce to actually fund them. And the top of the stack isn't even necessarily welfare. It's the people working for the government. We got 1/3 of our workers work for the government. put that into perspective.
Is it that high? 30%?
Yeah, I've heard 30% is what keeps floating to the top. Actually, is actually getting a paycheck from the government. So it's probably not the entirety of the government workers, but we've got, so each one of us is carrying a half of a person that actually produces.
Wow.
That is straight up communism. When I was in college, I remember one of my professors saying that at this point in time, it was 20 people to every one person who was on the government dole. And he said, by the time you guys get to be, so I was like around 18, 20 years old. He said, by the time you guys get to retirement age, it's going to be one person being carrying every 2 people that don't work at the rate as it was trending. That should be sobering. Well, right now I'm 61 and we've got a 1-to-2 ratio right now. And it's shocking. And they don't even realize that they produce nothing. Anybody that works in an office, some of that has to be done. Some administration has to be done. But the majority of what we're doing now in businesses and such, it is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of documentation, spying that they're doing. There's an act that we had to comply with for the companies that you have to turn in just a crazy amount. What was it? Corporate Transparency Act or something. I'm not even sure that they can even lawfully enact an act. I don't think it's a law. I think it's an act. But they're snookering everybody to jump in and comply and give them all this information. They're spying on the United States and everyone who has a business. And they're doing it under the guise of, well, we've got to have this information because we've got to have control of that, because they don't produce anything and they need us to be, silent slaves. I hate these people. I shouldn't, but I really do.
15 to 16% of the U.S. workforce is directly employed by the government. So it's probably triple that if you look at, direct
all the government contractors and everything.
Yeah, the contractors that just work for the government.
Yeah, let's
like the entire CIA.
Yeah, I want to look it up a minute. I want to see how many people. Let's employ a little AI on this one. Probably won't tell me.
Sounds like you guys are talking about conspiracy theories or something. Oh, speaking of Florida, while you're doing that, there was a man named Milton William Cooper, Bill Cooper, and he was well known, apparently, for conspiracy theories. Makes me think of the character on the movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. I think he was probably spot on about a lot of things, and maybe he was off on other things. They wrote X-Files episodes after this guy. So his name is Milton. Supposedly, one of the conspiracies he talked about was human trafficking. So, Dr. David, I'm glad you mentioned about Disney being underwater, because that means that Milton successfully flooded one of the largest human trafficking networks that we know of. And I think Milton would probably be happy about that. And by the way, it makes me think of the gentleman you talked to from Idaho, Donna. He was threatened with arrest for tax evasion.
Ammon Bundy.
Ammon Bundy, thank you. For some reason, that name is just hard for me to remember. Anyway, so they wanted to arrest him for that. He fought back, allegedly. He ended up getting shot and killed on November 5th, a few years back. So just one of those, like, he would probably be kind of a little entertained by having this particular hurricane named after him.
Interesting. Maybe that was purposeful.
So there's a little sidetrack rabbit hole for you guys.
Well, there you go.
What'd you find, Donna?
It says that as recent estimates, nearly 100 million Americans receive some form of government assistance. So that's like a third of the population is on assistance, entitlements. Like entitlements. Let's just call that entitlements. This includes various programs such as Social Security, unemployment benefits, and other welfare programs. So that doesn't even include government contractors. So you got a third on entitlement programs, according to Copilot, which I think it's probably pretty accurate, actually. So a third of the population on assistance, which would be entitlements. And then you don't have the government contractors. You don't have people working for the CIA, FBI, and such. And honestly, I've heard that a lot of the security people are making about $400,000 per security individual. That 400, 450 is what they get for that. So anytime they move around a public functionary, they're paying for all of that. I did a study on how much they pay to move the president around, what it costs per minute. It's ridiculous. There is no reason in today's world that we should be moving people around to physical locations. It's backwards. If I were in charge of the world, I would say whoever is in a position like that needs that kind of security needs to sit still, so that roads don't have to be closed, so that all of this stuff, buildings don't have to have snipers on them and such. You could sit right in one spot, control that spot, and make it super secure, and have them just sit there and do their job. It's way too much money into this kind of stuff. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Well, especially politicians. I can understand the president needing to meet with other world leaders.
Right.
Trump and stuff, but these politicians, they're just, even the local, like the governors and stuff, they all have security, and the mayors have armed security around them. It's just out of control.
It always makes me think back to, there was an account from back in the 1800s, I think, when Japan just started to kind of open up to the world, because they had blocked off basically all contact with the world just about for a very long time. When they started opening back up again, they had a Japanese diplomat that came to the United States, and he wrote an account of his trip. And one of the things in there was he talked about going to Washington, D.C., and being able to just basically walk right up to the White House and walk in and talk to the president. And how he was kind of shocked by that. But the Americans that he talked to at the time were like, yeah, that's obvious. Because they had set it up, and they were of the opinion that that's what set us apart from all of the monarchies back in Europe, is that the president was basically just another person. And of course you should be able to just talk to another person. He's one of us. And you look at that in sharp contrast to what we've got now. And, it's a little different now. And part of that is we've put way too much power into the executive branch. And part of that is just because we've put way too much power in the government anyway, to the point where people even see politicians in any capacity as being above them is it's anti-American, really.
Yeah.
It's un-American.
They think they're
above. That's the new term now, un-American. But I want to take a moment to point out, for anybody who missed it, Wednesday's show, in which Bill Moore talked about the Davy Crockett story. That was a great story.
That was a great story.
It was a great story.
I think it's really been interesting for me from that perspective in the day's sense to look at what people are asking for, what people are expecting, why they're upset about how the government is responding to the hurricanes. Because should we be begging the government for anything? Should we be asking them for certain kinds of things? Should we be disappointed that they're not responding? Is America capable of doing how much? These are some big questions that I've been asking since that show. So for anybody who's missed it, go back and listen to the Wednesday BNN
program.
Mm-hmm.
That was really a great story, you know, and how far away we have gotten from holding the line on our oaths of office. That it's really shocking once you start digging into this to see how much we've tolerated and how quickly people are led astray.
And on that note of all of the disaster stuff and things that cities are falling down on that we're actively seeing down there, Dr. David, you had some information, I think a couple of weeks ago now, about water filtration that sounded really interesting. Did you have that handy? Because you had a whole bunch of different techniques for water filtration.
Let me see if I can find it.
Because that's one that's really important for all of these locations. You know, you look at like what's going on in Tennessee with all of the disaster that they've got there, and the water filtration. You know, you can last a long time without food. Yeah. You can last a long time without power, but you got to have water, and that's something that's kind of a choke point for a lot of this stuff. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Can't last more than a couple days without water. 2 or 3 days, maybe.
Can you imagine what would happen to our large cities if all of a sudden the sewage and the water handling capabilities ended?
Yeah, and there's a lot of locations too where the sewer level is actually above the ground level, and the only reason why it continues to function is because they've got the lift stations that are able to pump that up to higher locations where the sewage can actually flow out. That breaks down. A lot of the sewers will end up backing up to the people that are in the lowlands, and could cause some major issues there too.
Yeah, so what are people going to do in these areas when they haven't planned on this? You know, if they have like a septic system or something like that, that's great, except for it takes a pump to, you know, not all of it's gravity. You know what I mean? Some of it is, but not all of it is. And so, you know, there's definitely some problems.
Well, you know what? Hang on a minute. There's a link I want to find that I found the other day that was really cool about infrastructure maps. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, and if you don't have water, there's a mix out here by us of some areas that have septic and some areas that have well. Well, that's great, but the wells aren't going to work unless they've got a way to pump it if the electricity goes out. So you got a problem. So that takes your sewage issue right out too, because there's nothing to carry it to the septic systems, right? And if you have to have additional pumping mechanisms, no matter what it is, you're in trouble, right? So
I've been thinking about a lot of things that I haven't thought about before in watching the footage and information coming out from Tennessee. I hadn't thought about what you would do because we get a little water in our basement sometimes. I've never expected that we don't have it would be extremely unlikely for us to get completely flooded where we live. Michigan does have a lot of water. Muskegon County had some some places had some fairly severe flooding and 1 day's worth of rain. But if your house was flooded and you didn't have any electricity, not having been in one of those hurricane prone areas, it's not something that I've thought about, but how do you clean up? And the cleaning is important for health. So I was thinking about these people that they have properties that have withstood the mudslides, and hopefully there's some in places where they don't expect another mudslide to happen. So they have a shelter, but it's wet and they don't have power and winter is coming. And for everybody else who's had to come down the mountain or is still stuck, they're going to have to figure out a shelter that's wet and largely unstable. These are things I haven't thought about where I live before.
Yeah.
How do you clean in order to maintain sanitary conditions. I heard the smell there is terrible. You don't get that on film. And somebody from Florida, I said, told me the other day, they think that the first thing that should be removed from all the homes is mattresses. They said the mattresses will hold the water, and they mold up, and then that must be a really big source of illness. So then what can you do in these sorts of conditions to protect yourself from disease?
Well, everyone that I know down there has literally thrown out every single possession they had on the barrier islands. They unless they were really high, which a lot of area down there was not, to be able to sustain the storm surges at 10 to 15 feet in that area. That's going to like bury a lot of first floor, and then also knocks the houses right off the foundation. A lot of them are leaning. The structures are unsafe. And so the first thing that you do is you've got to throw out all your furniture, because as you said, so like everything in my place ended up on the street, including the refrigerator. Everything was toast. The furnaces, the furnaces, the air conditioning, the HVAC, all of that's gone because it fried everything. It's all wet, unsalvageable. And it's all a combination of it. Honestly, it's a combination of sewage water as well as ocean water. So I mean, it's a substantial problem. And so everything has to be torn out. You have to tear the walls out. If you've got insulation, you got to get that out so that can dry out. You go right down to the studs. A lot of times the cabinets will get waterlogged, especially if it's particle board. That will get waterlogged, and you got to get that out because that's not going to dry out either. And the amount of humidity that follows something like that is generally very, very high. If you can't dry it out with I've had a few places that have had broken pipes and everything in it is just floating. I mean, we've had that happen before. Unless you've got a quick way to get dehumidifiers in there or large fans to dry out even this stuff, you're going to go into a very, very unhealthy situation, and all you can do is get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone really should probably have a portable dehumidifier, and then I kind of tend to think everyone should have an ozone machine on hand too. Those are great for taking care of like mold after you've dried something out, because they make the ozone machines, and the idea is that you don't want to be around them. You put them into a sealed off room with no people in it
on a timer. So when it shuts off, it's done. You don't want to go in there.
Yep. And they use those a lot in hotel rooms, actually. In between people, they'll put an ozone machine in there to just kind of more or less do a low-level disinfection of an entire unit at once. But if you have an ozone machine like that, if you've got the right one, they can kill bugs, they can kill mold, they can kill a lot of stuff in a quick hurry. And those are kind of a handy tool to have.
Bleach is also another good one that everybody should have some bleach on hand, and probably a bunch of it. Just in case. It's cheap, and there's a lot of things that you can use to, you can use that to treat, disinfect, kill mold, kill mildew. And if you've got it in like a little sprayer or something like that, makes it easy to deploy.
Yeah. Bleach, very good friend.
So you want to talk about the water purification?
Sure. I mean, I have a list. Pretty much the stuff we've talked about. Water filter. If anybody, it's like $10 to get a Life Straw. But any type of water filter would be very handy to have. Then the water purification tabs, they're probably like 10 cents each. Have a bunch of those. We talked about many times about bleach, 3 or 4 drops of bleach in a gallon of water. Will
that kill all the bugs in it and everything? I mean, does that kill kill like parasites and anything else.
Bacteria and viruses, yeah. Parasites.
The iodine tablets, I think you can get those at like a lot of camping stores.
Yeah.
However, those were one of the things that gets you on an FBI watch list. Just like
Really?
just like not being on Facebook.
Or like BNN, right? BNN's going to get you on the watch list too.
Yeah.
Why? What's the reasoning behind that?
Because the people that would be buying those are people that are into preparedness.
Okay. Yeah, domestic
Yeah,
terrorists.
didn't you know that we're all terrorists?
Yeah, domestic
We decide that
terrorists.
we'll prepare and take care of ourselves because FEMA can't have that. You know?
Got to make sure that we're all heavily dependent on government systems. And boy, if you want to be prepared to be able to function on your own, boy, that's a heck of a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, they can give all the money they want over to Ukraine and everywhere else, but when it comes to Americans, we're like second-class citizens here.
The best way to treat water is to boil it. If you can boil it, and you probably should know how to boil water in an emergency.
Who wouldn't know how to boil water?
Yeah, no.
I mean, is
I'm
it
thinking without power,
right?
Some people may not be able to think about how to boil water if they didn't have their convenient stove or microwave oven.
Yeah,
Okay,
some people would be so
even...
tied to fuel sources that they wouldn't be able to think about doing that on a wood fire or that kind of thing. I would think.
Guys, I can't even relate to this. Is that a thing? Somebody would know how to start a freaking fire and get a pot on it, or wouldn't you? Okay.
I think anybody with a Harris Waltz for president sign in their front yard probably does not know how to boil water without fuel.
I think
they can use their signage. They can use their signage as fuel.
Yeah. The Biden-Harris sign people, those are the ones that are going to be the first ones to die in the event of an emergency.
Yeah, that's actually another thing, I think, if I remember right, that was explicitly called out by the FBI as something that they'll put you on a watch list for, is magnesium fire starters.
Oh, of course.
Yep. Because once again, not because of anything dangerous, but just because it means that you're into preparedness. And magnesium fire starters will work without any other infrastructure.
Crazy.
I tend to think the new plasma lighters that they've got for camping are really pretty cool because they're rechargeable. I mean, you get an EMP, you're screwed. But anything less than that, if you've got a solar panel and you've got one of those, man, those are a convenient way to be able to light a fire if you need to.
Do they use butane?
No, it's full electric.
Okay.
It's basically they use enough voltage to be able to create a spark that's a good, I'd say maybe a 3/8 of an inch long.
An arc, like?
Or, sorry, 3/16 of an inch long. So it's just like, it's a continual electrical arc that you can then, use to light tinder and then use that to light a wood fire.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not seeing a legend on this, and I'm trying to figure out exactly. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, isn't that a cool map?
That's a cool map. I bet you go down farther than that and you can see all of the nuclear. Oh, yeah. Kind of interesting.
Speaking of maps, somebody posted in a Facebook group recently, do you know how to read a road map? And it may sound kind of funny, but I've actually been thinking about that lately because if, let's say, you had family in North Carolina and you lost touch with them and you really wanted to get down there to find out if they were okay, to help them out in some way, to connect with them, would you be able to get from Michigan to somewhere specific in North Carolina or even to the general state without a road map in hand for every state? And would you be able to read that road map? How many people know how to read a road map nowadays? It's like the videos of the teenagers trying to figure out a rotary phone. They're so used to things like Google or their car telling them where to go and just following it. They wouldn't have a clue how to pull out a paper map and use it.
Yeah.
But that's something that, as long as the infrastructure doesn't change, I mean, if we had a nuclear attack, the road system would probably change.
Something else that was brought up the other day too by somebody, and I don't remember who was talking about this. Actually, might have been you, Dr. David, was talking about. Do you have a way to tell time if in the event of like an EMP or something like that, or even just a power loss?
Hey,
do you have the ability to tell time?
I can tell you how to tell time. We have a complete grid shutdown. You know what time it is? It's we are screwed. And we are screwed.
Well, it does help for navigation, though. I mean, if you've got a mechanical clock, that was one of the big things. I mean, you can tell latitude using a sextant, but to tell longitude, that was one of the things that really limited ship travel for a long time, was the ability to have an accurate clock that could stand up to the motion of a ship on the waves. And once they solved that, then positioning became much easier.
Interesting.
Anybody who hasn't taken a land navigation course should take one. You can get a good one in Kent County, by the way. I've taken that particular course several times because while by the last time I took it, I was able to help other students through the exercises. And I could be like an assistant teacher in the class. I still don't feel comfortable. It's just not. It's like ham radio, Ralph. It's just I can talk on the radio. I know all the protocol, but not for general ham radio use. I knew how to use it for my team, but I could do some things with it, but I wasn't comfortable in other situations. And in that particular land nav course, if I can find it out, I'll share a link. They have a higher level course after you've taken the basic, where there's a park. I think it's just outside of the South Kent County area, where you can go into that park in the evening and practice your skills while you're out there seemingly alone in the dark. Can you get from a certain point to another certain point, collect information, and get back to where you started safely and without freaking out? First time I did it, I admit it was a little scary for me. It took me out of my comfort zone. I didn't perform the tasks very well. The second time I did it, I did better. I was more comfortable. I knew what I was doing. I couldn't get all the information I was supposed to collect, but I was able to get myself to a couple of pathways and maneuver my way out with ease.
Well, that's one of the reasons, too, why I advocate for, like you with the ham radio. Don't just get a ham radio. Get your license and get on the air and practice with it, because it's just like a firearm. You don't want to just get a firearm just because, in case I have it, but then never practice with it. It's the same with radio. And that's why getting a license is so important on that, is because practice with it while you've still got all the resources available to you to learn.
Okay, let's pull this up a minute. Let's see if he's. I haven't seen this video yet, so let's see what it says.
Basic map reading skills. This is super easy, super fun, and a great skill to teach your kids. So most maps that you use are recreational maps. Let me just draw you a quick recreational map, and I'll point out some key components of it. So the first thing we want to look at is the legend. The legend tells you a lot of important information about the map. It has what the signs and symbols mean, and what the trail colors mean. The next thing we want to look at is north. Now, 9 times out of 10, the top of the map is north. You can verify this by finding a north pointing arrow on the map somewhere, like in this example here. So the third thing we do is we look at the terrain of the map. We look at the trails. We look at the points of interest. And we kind of orient ourselves to the map so that we can get a general idea of what we're going to use it for, where we're going. The last thing we look at is the scale. Now the scale will tell you the distances on the map. This will become important later when you want to measure trail distances, and I'll show you this in another video called Using the Scale to Measure Distances. So to use these basic map reading skills and to use the map, the first thing you do before you enter the trail is you find out which direction's north. You can either use a compass or a cell phone, or the compass is in a car to do this, but you want to figure out which direction is north generally. When you're on your hike and you make a sharp turn, make sure you turn the map.
Okay, I got to stop 1 minute or I'm going to get a YouTube strike here. But I think this is really super helpful to actually have these skills. And I guess I didn't even think about people not knowing how to read a map. But if this is a thing, let's continue on.
It's always facing north. This will give you a general idea of where you are on the map and where you are on the trail. And that's it. Basic map reading made easy. Look for my other videos for more intermediate techniques on how to use a map.
There, okay.
So who here remembers having to navigate in a car using a paper map?
Gazetteer, absolutely.
I am old enough to have done that.
Think of how many people have not had to do that.
And think about wrestling that in a car as you're trying to get somewhere. You know, it was always easier if you had a navigator that could say, hey, turn here or there, so you didn't have to manage the whole thing. But
and then try and fold it back up when you were done.
Right.
Although the huge books of maps, those were actually quite handy. The big atlas ones, that were like, they were kind of unwieldy books, but it was a heck of a lot better than trying to fold the darn little maps.
Yeah.
You can get a plastic cover for these, by the way. If you're out in the wilderness somewhere, or even in suburbia, it doesn't matter where you are. Having a plastic cover that fits your map so that you can read it while it's raining is also very helpful.
Or laminated, laminated stuff. The biggest thing with being outside is you want to stay out of the water. You want to keep the moisture away. I mean, that's a lot of the problems people have is if their boots or their socks get wet and that sort of thing when they're out for long periods of time. You really can open yourself up to a whole heap of hurt. Have a raincoat. And I don't mean those little stupid plastic ones, not those little stupid plastic raincoats. That's kind of in a pinch, but that's not one of those long-term options.
Yeah, everyone probably have a bug out bag, they call them. Just something packed away, for emergencies if you need to get out of your house.
Well, there's another one. That's a good point. If you're away from home, and let's say you work within an hour from home, but you're still some miles away, and the grid goes down, your car can't run, or you run out of gas and you can't get any more. Can you get yourself home? Can you get yourself to your child's school or a spouse's place of work? Do you have a plan for that kind of thing? In my household, we do. Do you have a bug out bag in your vehicle so that you could safely get where you need to be on foot, even if it took a while? And does your family know that you have that so that they can trust you know what to do and you're on your way and it's just a matter of time and they can relax? Because the stress of knowing that someone is away from where you are and secure, you don't know what's going on with them. That's happened in North Carolina, Tennessee, these people, Florida. Please check in. Please check in. Well, how can they do that? They don't have power. They don't have internet. They don't have cell phone abilities for days. And so people didn't know if they were drowned, if they got squashed in a mudslide, anything horrible could have happened to them. Or were they perfectly safe and they just couldn't get to communicate? Knowing that there's a plan in place for your loved ones makes a world of difference. And because if your stress level is down, like Donna said about the survival time, if you're out of a high level survival mode, your stress level, the cortisones, the hormones that are all related to illness are going to be lower. And you can more aptly survive the situation because you're confident, you have faith, you know what's going on, you're capable.
Yeah, when people are in a stress situation, they make up bad decisions. So the first thing is to get a handle on the stress. And I would suggest praying and just stop, take a walk around the building. And I don't mean like physical building, just stop and really try to decelerate your own emotions to the point where you can think. And some of that comes down to just going back to base level facts. You know, still alive, going to have to make some choices. It's not ideal, but making choices in non-ideal situations is what we do. You're never going to have an ideal situation as long as we're on this rock, because that's just not how it works here. We're going to solve one problem and there will be another problem that comes after that, and we'll solve that problem. But we're never going to be in utopia here on this earth. It's not realistic. So to be able to handle problems that come up is a huge skill in crisis, being able to do crisis management and hold yourself together without, and then think about it later, think about it later. But you've almost got to go into a mode where you're kind of like emotionless and cold, compartmentalize yourself.
Yep.
And that's the way that you stay from being hauled into a reactionary mindset.
Yeah. And Karen, you brought up the navigation class. Another really, really good class that I've been to that I'd recommend everybody look into is in the spring. They usually do, each county has a class for the National Weather Service Skywarn program, which is basically, it's volunteer weather spotting. So during storms, the Skywarn volunteers will usually watch the skies for any kind of severe weather, not just on radar, but actually eyes on the situation on the ground, looking at things and reporting it back to the Weather Service. That class is invaluable for anyone in the Midwest because it's got a lot of good information about tornadoes, how they behave, straight line winds, hail, all kinds of severe weather, how to spot it, how to prepare for it, how to do damage assessments afterward. Phenomenal class, and I'd highly recommend it. It's one of the most interesting classes that I've ever been to.
I believe it's free, isn't it? And a lot of ham radio operators are part of that system.
Well, and to your point, on all of your points, because you've all basically said the same thing, is gain the knowledge to be able to have some competence and security and confidence no matter what situation arises. And if things go awry, that's outside of your control. It just is what it is. And sometimes you got to just do an assessment with what you have and pick up what you have and just keep going, right? Yep. And let it go. It's kind of goes back to, honestly, I'm going to go back to the Bible on this one, because it's like with Sarah as turning into a pillar of salt. And I think, you brought this up several times, Ralph. She kept looking back at what she lost instead of looking forward into what do you do now when you can't go back. And we probably shouldn't want to go back. Just because things are familiar doesn't mean that that's the best course. It just makes us feel comfortable because we're comfortable with those things we feel familiar with. Human beings are very, very adverse to change, even if it's for the better. You see that when you adopt a child like I did. They will always mourn what they lost, even if it was in complete and utter squalor or a problem. And that's to the point of, in the Constitution, is that people will be willing to suffer huge usurpations by the government rather than get in there and change it, because it is a difficult thing to change what we're used to. But these fundamental changes right now, they have to happen.
Again, like Bill said on Wednesday about all the things that we have. If you go to the Philippines, where flooding is really common, there was a man who came to Michigan a couple of times, and he was like, "You have houses for your cars?" And their church, they have a photo they shared once where their church was in like 2 feet of water. They were holding a service. They were all standing outside together, singing and praising God. And while they're standing in water, and it was just like, well, this is what we have to deal with. We are so stuck on all of our stuff that, like you were saying about after a hurricane, getting rid of all your stuff. You have no choice. That would be traumatic for most of America.
Yeah, for me, it's like I kind of felt like it was unencumbering to me. Here's Skywarn. You got to enjoy what you have for the day and be thankful for it. But that could change in a heartbeat for any one of us. And I expect it's going to change for most of us at some point in time. If the grid goes down, it's going to go down. There's no two ways about it. I don't know if it's going to go down all at once, but I will take that bet with anyone out there that we are going to have a catastrophic failure financially as well as an infrastructure failure. It's going to happen. You can even look at history. No society has ever lasted long term. Just doesn't, because the people become too corrupt, and it will run to its own demise just because the people don't have the fortitude, the honor, the integrity to continue to keep it on the rails. And that's just the way it is. Until we as human beings decide to clean ourselves up and our motivations up, it's probably always going to run its course like it does. And so those of us who understand that just have to be ready for those changes and know that it's going to be okay. God is with us every step of the way. And some of the stuff that we think we need have caused us more problems than we're willing to admit, but it's comfortable. Just comfortable.
I think here's something to think about, that, trying to survive in your house, if there's a grid down situation, I guess it's okay in the summer, but in the winter or with flooding, even in your house in the summer, like I think they say the toilets and everything are going to start overflowing. It's going to be a tough situation to live in, but everybody pretty much has something that they could survive in any season, and probably thrive. And that's your car. If you can think ahead, what you would need in your car, even if you're a common thing that could happen in Michigan, I guess you got to prepare for where you live. In Michigan, we're not going to get a hurricane. We're probably not going to get massive flooding and stuff, but we get massive ice storms and snowstorms. And if you're out on the road, they say don't leave your car. If it goes off the road or you run out of gas, don't try walking. You got to be able to survive in your car. And I think they say with just a candle, you can keep your car warm enough to survive, assuming you have got some winter clothes and stuff. But, everyone should have some sort of emergency kit in their car, in the trunk of the car, some extra blankets, flashlight.
Tea candles. I have them in my car.
How about a metal cup where you could just take the snow and melt it over a candle for water? I don't know. We could probably think of 100 things you could put in your car, but you could probably fit everything into a little backpack, and you could survive in your car in almost any type of situation.
One of the greatest resources I've seen for that is looking into the Jeep community, because the Jeep community has a lot of people that do off-roading, and a lot of times they will be prepared not only for being able to stay off-road for long periods of time and survive in harsh environments, but also a lot of them have figured out good ways of keeping a full mechanical repair kit with their car as well as sometimes spare parts for cars, to the point where if you need to, like I said, don't look to somebody that has a Jeep to save you, but look to their community for what to put into your own car, because they've figured out a lot of that stuff into how to do it in the most compact way possible.
Yeah, and pray to God that you got a lot of people with like big old diesel trucks out there to pull people out. That's the one thing as a farm girl that I see a lot. You got a Prius and you're wearing like high heel shoes out there, you're probably going to have some problems. I mean, I've literally seen my husband pull somebody out of it. He's a pretty strong guy, right? And, pick up some chick that had pumps on that went in the ditch, lost one of her pumps, and he's carrying her out of the ditch to get her somewhere safe as she's freezing her tail off. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys, but this is kind of one of those things that looks like an IQ fail test in the state of Michigan in winter, because just go out with, you have to wear pumps, bring them to the office with you, but you're out in the middle of Nanook land here in sub-zero temperatures. Sometimes if things don't go exactly right, you're toast, and you better hope that somebody that's a farm girl, like I can see Lori backstage here, like Lori, myself, Karen, Ralph, and such, it's got a big old diesel truck, and hope they got a tow strap and enough guts to get you out of there, because y'all are going to be sitting there freezing to death in your car until somebody comes along. And at that point in time, you're a liability on the whole area instead of an adult that can help. And that's what preparedness is too. It's not just preparing to save our own behinds. It's thinking of the others around us in a humanitarian way, that you're prepared to be helpful in all situations. I think everybody should have an emergency or a security plan in their neighborhoods. Talk to your neighbors. Find out who's got the pew-pews out there that can actually be helpful in a situation. If you're being attacked by, I don't know, the millions of illegal immigrants that have flooded into this nation, funded, the army funded by the Biden administration, and all of these people that are sitting in the seats that have not put a stop to it and have allowed this to be funded by our own nation. We're sitting here with an invading army funded by the UN inside our borders, powered by the drug cartels. And as long as everything goes perfectly right, it just kind of goes on and we don't see it. What happens if one thing tips out of balance? I would suggest everybody take this a little more seriously and have a few plans put in place, and not expect the cavalry to come and save you. We're going to have to save ourselves, just like in North Carolina and Florida and Tennessee, Georgia. It's going to be our neighbors and those we love, the people around us, that are going to have to stand together and get a plan figured out, because FEMA ain't coming. They're way too busy funding the illegal immigrants that are here to invade us and kill us. Yeah. And so the reality is that it's a tough reality, but that's just the way it is. So your future probably going to be in your own hands. And I hate to say it in such a in-your-face way to say it, but that's the truth. They're not going to tell you the truth. They won't tell you. They'll let you walk right into the trap and watch you either fail and sit back and laugh about it, because they don't care.
No, FEMA's not coming to save you.
No. So 30 seconds, guys, lightning round. Last words. I'm going to bring Lori on in a minute. We're going to talk about how to remove all of these criminal bastards off of our boards and out of the, these people are just criminal bastards. That's all you can say about it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because if any of them were actually doing what they were supposed to be doing, we wouldn't have the shit show going on that we have right now.
Right.
Just is what it is. It is, if any of them were doing, instead of saying, let's go ahead and impeach them, the legislature's sitting there twiddling their thumbs. We're going to watch Benson go in there and completely give our elections away. Nobody's starting the impeachment, articles of impeachment from within the legislature. They're dinking around on all these little stupid issues that don't matter and are not working. But we're going to talk to Lori, because Lori actually was involved in removing some of these people. And so we need to go there. So 30 seconds, David, Karen, and then Ralph, in that order.
I'd say start thinking about and make a winter survival kit for your car and your kids' cars and your husband or wife's car.
Karen.
Okay. Fortune Bay Expedition Team. That's the team that does the land navigation training. They also do expeditions. So if you're really interested in practicing those practical elements, they are the people that go off road. But their land nav is designed for the ordinary American Michiganian who wants to know how to navigate around.
Gander, Karen, gander.
Yeah, and I guess look to the south, look what's happening there, and get prepared now while all of the services are up so that you're prepared for when they go down. I mean, at this point, FEMA is not helpful. I mean, this country needs a cast and some crutches because we definitely have a broken FEMA.
Oh, all right.
One.
Wah, wah, wah. Dad jokes abound here on BNN. So thanks guys for coming on. I'm gonna take off and we'll be right back for a quick break. We'll be right back with Lori Brock. Welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 11th day of October 2024. Welcome to our show, and I'm going to jump right into this with Lori Brock. How you doing, Lori?
Hi, Donna. Great. How are you?
Doing great. Hey, this is like glorious what you did, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on today and talking about how you guys removed the board of Green Township, which is just amazing because they were not doing the right thing. Do you mind if I play this a minute?
No, go right ahead.
All right.
Five recalls were on the ballot for voters in Green Township. The recalls included the supervisor, the clerk, treasurer, and 2 trustees. They centered around the anger over the proposed Goshen EV battery plant. All 5 tonight now replaced. News 8's Taylor Morris joining us live from the Township Hall there with more on tonight's big recall vote. Taylor?
Yeah, Brian, they threw them all out. 5 members of the Green Charter Township Board are out tonight because of their support surrounding the controversial Goshen battery plant. Now, just a little bit ago, members of that board stopped by the Township Hall behind me to collect their belongings, clean out their offices. We went in there to ask them for comment, but they declined. Now, tonight's vote comes after a recall petition was filed by voters over the summer with claims the board wasn't listening to the voice of the people when it comes to Goshen. The battery plant has been a topic of discussion for months now here in northern Michigan. One man I spoke to earlier today who lives in the area said it's created a divide between residents, those who want to see the plant be built and those who want nothing to do with it. The petition was filed by voters to recall the Green Township supervisor, the clerk, treasurer, and 2 trustees. Tonight we spoke to the woman who helped start the recall petition. She says since speaking out about Goshen, she's received death threats and had signs in her yard taken down.
The new board's ready and waiting to go into effect. They want to clean up the township and actually, do some positive things for the community. Be accountable, be transparent. And we need that. We really do. And these people that are set up are amazing people. Each one of them cares. Each one of them is vested into this community. And I think they're going to do a phenomenal job.
Totally amazing, and thank you, Lori, for everything you've done to defend that area because you're just totally amazing. Go horsewomen.
Well, thank you. It's not just me though. I'm telling you right now, it's a grassroots movement that just, I just seem to be on the front of it just because my farm's right here. But it's the people behind me in this community. We couldn't do it without everybody. And we're so thankful that everybody was brave enough to come forth because they've been vile, they've been horrible, they've come after every like all anyone that speaks out against Goshen, they've come after us. And we knew that, but just in the last week, well, it was last week actually, court documents actually prove that they were actually going after us. They went when I was being outspoken against them, Chuck Phelan, who's the vice president of Goshen, ordered, or I shouldn't say ordered, but asked Jim Chapman, who was the township supervisor, to shut me up. He says, go to the courthouse and pull up all of her divorce records. Find some dirt on her. Let's get her shut up. We need to have karma come back on these people. They were talking about how they were going to give each other money. We'll send it through my wife's Venmo account so that no one will know about it.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
the corruption that has come out has been unreal. And they made even one of the people that's running for against Tom Kuntz right now, her name is Tracy Ruel, has a list of people they were going to blackball in the community because we voted on the recall. There were 30 businesses, and it brought up in the court documents. It's like they're so corrupt. They offered them trips to China. They offered them golf outings and dinners and money. One of the township directors or whatever was offered or gotten money almost 20 times the value of his land for buying, land. They were offered jobs. The corruption is so deep, and we knew it, but now we have proof of it through the court documents. When they went through discovery that's all become public last week. So it's very refreshing to have it all there. All the things that we were saying all along is just, it just kind of vindicates us and shows how corrupt those people are. And we didn't just go after the Green Township Board. We got rid of them. We got rid of the people that were supporting it in Big Rapids Township. And then we also went after the county commissioners. We didn't get all of them. There were 7 and we got 4. So we've got the majority rule of the county commissioners from the vote earlier this spring. So we feel pretty confident of where we're sitting right now.
How did you organize this, and what was the process you used to accomplish this?
Well, when I found out about it, it was given to me through a note in our mailbox. We didn't know anything about it. All of these township people had signed NDAs with Goshen. They had been working on this project for over 2 years and never let the community know about it. It's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. The people that were running the community, I could care less. I mean, honestly, I absolutely can't stand any of them because they're all corrupt. They were all being bought off. They didn't care about the community. They didn't care about our voices. And so what we did is, when I found out about it, we kind of gathered a group of people together. There's only 6 of us to begin with. And we just kind of said, what do we got to do? And the first thing was get rid of that township board. And so, we got went and got a referendum, and then we went through and got a vote, got it put on the ballot, and it was overwhelming against them. We knew we had the vote because we did we did 3 different independent surveys to find out if the community was really against it or for it, because those people were lying. They were saying that we had 95 to 99% of the community backed it. Jim Chapman he would get his butt reamed by the entire community. 400 or 500 people would show there. I shouldn't say the entire community, but the amount of people at the meetings was overwhelming. Some meetings had 700 people there. And then he'd go to the appropriations committee the next day and say, oh my God, everybody wants us here. When he knew he just took 4.5 hours of public comment, violent. I mean, people were angry, yelling at him. And then the very next day he'd go to the appropriations committee and say, oh yeah, everybody wants it. So they lied through their teeth nonstop. And then when we did the surveys, we found out we definitely were in we had every township do a survey because Jim Chapman, our acting community or township supervisor, refused to do a survey because he knew nobody wanted it. And when the surveys came in, 90 to 95% of the surveys showed that they were adamantly against Goshen here. So they had lied. They had lied to the community. They had lied to the MEDC and the right place because they had to have funding, or they had to have community support to get this money. They lied to them. They lied for the Renaissance zone, which they gave them a 30-year Renaissance tax-free zone. They lied about that too because they needed community support and they never had it. So it was just a whole bunch of lies. but we went after them. We educated people. I held rallies at my farm. I've held so many rallies at the farm, it's unreal. And we educated our community and we voted them out, and we're going to continue to go right up the ladder. We want the rest of the county commissioners voted out. So that will be our next thing going.
Oh, froze up a minute. She'll be back. This happens. Real news for real people.
Go ahead. We find out that they're all, one of them in particular, I won't name names yet, but he owes $300,000 into a federal liens. So of course he thinks this is a get rich scheme with Goshen, you know what I mean? So the more you look into these county commissioners, you find out the dirt on them and you go, oh, that's why they're for this. They think they're going to get paid by Goshen. And they do. Goshen comes in and is very generous with our tax money. They give $5,000 to this group and $5,000 to that group. And they're so involved and they try to make the community look like they're this wonderful company, when in reality, I have to remind the people, I'm like, that's our tax dollars you're using. Governor Whitmer gave them $175 million of our tax dollars. They're not generous. They're just using our money to not only fight us in court, but to also they've overpaid for land by 20 times the amount that it's worth. They're just corrupt. That's all our tax money. And now they want to raise our taxes because there's no money to run the schools and to fix the roads and all this other stuff. But because they gave their money away to Goshen and other communist companies. It's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And then when you look at the people that accept those kind of donations, or let's just call it what it is, it's a payout to shut people up. This is like straight up organized crime crap going on. Yeah, it's going on in every community that you're in or that anybody out there is in. I guarantee you that it's going on because these people have infiltrated everything and they do it by money. They get to individuals by money and they won't stop at anything to hurt you. We've got right here in Byron Township. Absolutely. We've got it going on in this community. It's going on in every community across the state of Michigan. People are going to have to stand up on a local level, put them on notice and tell them what their jobs are, because clearly they think their job is complete usurpation and grabbing power never granted to them.
Right. Absolutely. And they're so cocky about it. Like Jim Chapman, the supervisor, would say, if you don't like it, get out the door. We don't need you here.
He actually says that.
He did. He would do it in every meeting. And we're like, you're a jerk. You're going to be going out, buddy. We don't need to be treated that way. We have a voice. But the corruption of leaders signing NDAs too. How can you possibly be a leader and sign NDAs where the public doesn't know what's going on? I think all those NDAs should be outlawed. There should be no way that they should be allowed that, nor should any communist company be allowed to buy land in our state or in our nation.
I'm going to go one step further than that. It's not just the communist companies. I think that most of the corporations that own land in the United States of America are funded through foreign money, which leads back to the global crime syndicate. So in any of these corporations, we need to have a complete, and I mean total, redo of what we've accepted from a corporate structure, because the corporations, you look at BlackRock, Vanguard,
oh my God,
all of them, the Goshen plant going back to CCP, but there are forces that are so subversive, and they're doing it. It's what Marxists will always do. They will always go for an economic gain, to commandeer, to steal, to infiltrate, and take over things. They're not that smart, really.
No.
They couldn't ever come up with anything on their own, so they have to steal what other people do.
Mm-hmm. They project what they're going to do always. So it's pretty easy to fight them because they project exactly what they're going to do. And the thing that gets me is, these Democrat people are so blinded by them. We can show them all of the evidence, all the collusion, all the bribery, all of they say, oh, we want to fit into your community. I'm like, you want to fit in by taking out community businesses and blackballing them and putting them on I said, come on. I said, and you bring that to them and they're so naive. They're like, no, they're not. And we still have people here in this community that are saying they're not run by the CCP. I'm like, are you out of your mind? We've given you the evidence, but they're just like blinders. They don't want to look. They don't want to read the truth. They don't want to look at the court documents. I went to a meeting just Tuesday night at the township, and I printed off all of the text messages between Chuck Thielen and Jim Chapman because I wanted people to know who were involved. And it showed a lot of the other people in the community that were involved in this too. A lot of Democrat people were all involved in ruining businesses. Like they went after my business and gave me 1-star reviews. I have a real estate company. We had 31 1-star reviews to try to drop my Google rating down to a 1. And luckily, the community came back and they gave me a bunch of great reviews and we got it back up there. But they say that if they didn't fire me at my job, that, they'd never do business with me again. Well, those people would have never done business with me to begin with. And
Right.
I'm like, and you're hilarious because I own my own company. So you're an asshole. You know what I mean? Yeah, good try, but you better do your research before you start coming at me because I own the company. And but they're vile. I mean, they went after the state of Michigan with me. They tried to shut me and my farm down. They killed one of my horses last year.
They
They
killed one of
are
your
in,
horses. What? How did that work?
oh, absolutely. I got from one of the townships, one of the township's trustees' sister actually wrote me put it out on Facebook that said, you better shut your mouth and pay attention to your farm if you know what's good for you. And
Oh,
I took a
really?
threat. I'm like, I could care less what this person says because she's, it's just not important to me. And then literally 3 days later, she's called a crown mare. She was poisoned and found dead in our field. And then 3 days after that, I have we were blessed enough to have our horses in a movie, and they tried to poison our stallion that was in the movie, but we caught it was poison in his water, and we were able to get rid of that and move him and whatnot. But yeah, they will stop at nothing, to try to shut us down. They've taken our signs down. So right now I have a damn semi in my front yard that says Trump 2024. I'm like, you can't take that now, can ya? You can try to take my signs, you can try to shut me up, but every time you do that crap, I come back stronger and I come back louder. So, keep coming at me. I honestly don't care anymore. I mean,
That's what I love about horsewomen. It's like, go ahead and piss us off because the attack in it's like I like to say, I have horses. That means I can throw a metric ton of hay. I have pitchforks and I can take a kick from a half-ton animal. You're not going to be any problem. It's just going to piss me off. And when I come back, it's going to be an attack you ain't going to get away from.
right. Well, they sure don't like to hear the truth. I stood up, we've been going to the county commission meetings, the township meetings, and these people are busted red-handed and they do not want to hear the truth. At the last meeting, we had a whole group walk out. The minute I walk in, they're such cowards, they walk out. They knew I had, I'm like, hey, I got information and a lot of you guys are involved in this. Sit down, let me give it to you. And they
Did you
grabbed
FOIA
it and
it?
walked out. Huh?
Did you FOIA all that information?
Well, what someone in our group did, it was all the court documents. So it's all
Yeah.
posted, all the transcripts, because they sued us in federal court. So when they sued us, it opened it up so that to discovery. And we were able to ask a lot of questions. In fact, like Chen Li, the owner, does not want to be deposed. And it's like, we just got a court ruling last week. Well, he's going to be deposed. It's like these people. And then the more they go into the depositions, the more they lie and the more dirt we get on them. I mean, all this stuff coming up about, that they had bribes, they put money into people's political funds without it going through the right, they kind of snuck it into PayPal accounts. Jim Chapman's like, here's my my QR code. Here, send it this way. They'll never find it that way. And how much money can we send you? So they didn't do it the legal way at all. But we've totally got them now because they squealed on each other. It's like a bunch of idiots. And then Jim Chapman's going, well, or Thielen was saying, this is a really big thing. If it all goes our way, there's free trips to China for you guys. We'll pay for your passports. We'll do this. We'll take you golfing. We'll buy all this for you. It is so dirty and it's so corrupt. So I'm hoping that we're able to do a countersuit of some sort with a class action lawsuit against all of them because there's a lot of community members that have been hurt or fired from their jobs because of them. They went after a local radio station and went after their sponsors and said, we're going to contact every one of your sponsors, which they did. And it cost them a ton of money and all over lies, and this was all orchestrated by our elected officials and Chuck Thielen, who's the vice president of Goshen. But it's all there in writing. So everybody can see it. You can see how corrupt it is. And the stupid thing is Chuck Thielen, the vice president, even slammed the owner of Goshen about telling him what an idiot he is and how stupid he and his son are, blah blah blah. So I took those and sent them to Chen Li I got his personal email address and I sent him to him. I thought, boy, with Chinese people, I don't think that's going to go over real well with your vice president talking crap about you. But I sent him 14 emails last week. I'm like, I think that he needs to know what a creep Chuck Thielen is. So I did, and I'm like, I'm going to keep, I'm like, hopefully we can get them fighting amongst themselves and they'll go away. I mean, the big thing that they say is, oh, if you don't want us, we'll leave. Like, we made it very clear we don't want you. Why aren't you leaving? We've said it over and over. Get out. We don't want you here. You're not welcome here. And yet they still try. They've got us in court right now. They're suing us, and which is just a big expense to our township. But our township is like, fight them. We don't want them here, so fight them. We'll take the hit. So
and they always want to say, oh, if we do the right thing or if we listen to the residents, they're going to sue me. They're going to sue the county or the township. They're going to sue us. Well, guess what? I think they should be more worried about the citizens suing them.
I think so too. And I truly believe that we should. I believe I 100% am not going to be happy until we get a lawsuit against them, because what they've done is, and I think everybody's looking at us, and I think we need to make an example of them. I put a big billboard on my farm. I put big billboards up all the time. And the last one I put up last week says, we've all read your text and jail is next. And that is what I'm hoping happens, because these people are corrupt and they need to be brought down, so I think by getting the message out, and Pete Hoekstra has me talking to different communities all over the state. And I think by getting educated, people will realize what's happening beforehand. And a lot of people were very lackadaisical and didn't go to their township meetings. And this is the crap that happens if you don't get involved. You really have to go and you have to find out what's going on at these meetings, or you've only got yourself to blame, and we found out the hard way, and it's costing us money. And I mean, it's been a year and a half of fighting, none of us wanted this. We didn't go looking for a fight. That fight was brought to us when they tried to take our land, so and luckily we had a group of people that were so strong and able to come up with ideas so quickly to stop them. They literally were supposed to start breaking ground last June, and we found out about it at the end of April. It was crazy. So we've done a lot in a year, but we've got a lot more to do.
Wow.
We definitely have a lot more.
And this stuff is going on all over the state of Michigan. It's incredible. Do you have a lot of problems with the DNR up there grabbing land too? Because I know the DNR and these governmental organizations or agencies are literally in a land grab for the state right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not such a huge deal right now as a land grab. What they're doing, which I think is kind of creepy, is they're taking our forested land and Whitmer's logging it, logging this.
They're cutting it.
Yeah, clear cutting the land, which is disgusting. These are beautiful forests, and they're going through and clear cutting all of them. And that is disgusting, and we're not happy about that. I mean, eventually when we stop them here, I think that'll probably be one of our next fights, is to go after that. But hopefully we get a whole new government. And I mean, this election coming up is so important. I mean, we're sitting here watching all the stuff going down in downstate with the hurricane and no relief. I mean, I'm getting calls from people left and right, especially animal organizations and whatnot. And I think we're going to make a trip down there to bring supplies, because they're literally, FEMA's stopping them from making the deliveries to people. And there are people suffering, and it's like, what in the hell is going on? Our government is corrupt. They need to, everybody needs to realize this and vote them all out. I mean, I'm hoping people understand that, and I don't know. We're trying to make it very clear that you need to get to the elections, and we're on the Trump Force team. We're a headquarters here. We're doing everything we possibly can to get people out and to vote. One thing that came up the other day that surprised me is 30% of religious people, churches, and people in the churches don't vote. 35% of gun owners don't vote. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? You need to get out and vote. You protect your rights. They're trying to take away our freedoms of speech and our right to bear arms. Why are you not coming out and voting? I mean, to me, it's just bizarre, but it is true. And so we're trying to reach those people as well. I think so many people think that their votes don't matter, and their votes do matter. I mean, some of these elections, we only won by a few votes, So those people voting, it mattered a lot, because we were able to take them out, But without everybody coming out and seeing how important this is, we would not be as successful as we have been.
And then once they're in there, we need to hold them accountable, just as you've been doing. And there's other people out there too that are learning to hold them accountable, because we really were at a disadvantage with our non-education system, the indoctrination system, because they didn't want us to know the law, how the process works, how to hold people. It's all been engineered. I mean, the whole thing has criminally been engineered to disadvantage the American population, so that we just sit there and go, well, we can't do anything. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we can.
There's a lot we can do, but you got to be willing to go in there and stay with it until you hit the goal.
Well, you know what it is so many people are terrified. The amount of abuse, I'll say it for my own self, the amount of abuse I took for standing up for what was right is criminal. People shouldn't be chastised for freedom of speech. I mean, they went after me. They tried to discredit me. They tried to lie about me. You know, they told that Chuck Thielen and our Jim Chapman, the supervisor, went online and told people that I was a horrible realtor, and that I built my property on industrial zone land. Absolute lies. You know darn well, if you're a farmer, you're going to vote, you're going to go on agricultural. My whole farm is agricultural. Yet they went online and tried to tell everybody, you know, that I was a horrible realtor and made these mistakes. And then, you know, bringing up my divorce, bringing up this, bringing up that. And they even, you know, it was just crazy. It's the threats that were made to me, the threats to the animals. I mean, honest to God, we've put up with a year and a half of abuse. I'm a tough girl. I don't know that a lot of people could put up with that. You know what I mean? They get scared. They take their signs down. You know, when you have people tormenting you and calling you names and meetings and stuff. Not luckily, we go to the meetings and we're very vocal and we'll shut the people down that are ridiculing people. But my God, they come in and it just, you know, what they want to do is they want to destroy people and destroy their families. And luckily, we have a strong group and we were able to stop them from doing that. But I don't know that other communities have that. You know, you really have to have a strong leader. And I had so many people saying, I'll stand by you, but please don't stop. If you stop, then we're going to get the repercussion. I mean, they made up lists of businesses to target. How corrupt is that? You know, that isn't an election. That, I mean, people in other years never went after targeted people because they voted a certain way or not. These people are vile and mean, and people are scared of them. So
they're criminal. I mean,
they are criminal.
The threat, the coercion, the character assassinations that have gone on, the hiding information, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere. It literally is happening everywhere.
It is. And it's so surprising because now Slotkin's changing sides. She has pushed for Goshen for the last 2 years. And now all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm so against it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, you are a lying witch. You have been pushing Goshen for 2 years. You think we're stupid, and just because you make up a little thing now and you're saying you're against it, that we're going to turn tide on you? Hell no. I'm like, we'll never support you. You know, we want you out. You know, I mean, this is horrible. I just think people think we're stupid. And a lot of people have said they've messed with the wrong group of rednecks up here, because we're not going to put up with it. And we didn't know that we couldn't take out a whole township. Nobody told us that. Afterward, everybody's going, oh my God, this has never happened before, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, I'm glad no one said anything, because we might not have fought for it, you know, if we didn't think it was possible. But if people just have to forget all that and move forward and fight and continue to fight and not give up. I mean, we have made so much ground. You know, they started out wanting a 2,000 acre mega site, and we've got them like cornered into a little area of 270 acres, and out of that, a third of it's wetlands. So they can't do anything right now. Now we've got a planning board involved, and they're all on it, and they're not going to give them the zoning that they need. I mean, we had to go the hard way to learn all this stuff, but we've all got it in the nick of time. And I swear to God, that was because of God and God helping us. And this is a spiritual war right now on top of everything else. But we got through this planning board like hours before they were going to vote. I mean, we've been so incredibly lucky, and we have to believe that God had a hand in that. And, you know, we feel very blessed that we're where we're at right now. And we've got to stay right now. We just went to court last week. And the judge ruled that Chen Li had to come and testify, which he did not want to be disposed. And we also have 90 more minutes of questions for Chapman because he's obviously showed a lot of dirt and taking money and all kinds of stuff that came out in the last discovery. So we were granted 90 more minutes with him, and they gave us a stay so that they can't move forward until we get this figured out. So we feel like we're really have come a long way. And if we can, I hope to God we can pull Trump through, because Trump will stop this. I mean, he's said over and over he doesn't want Goshen here. They even were trying to say that he was in favor of Goshen, and he made a press release for us to say no, not in favor of Goshen, 100% against it. And even at that moment, they're like, well, no, he really does want it. And it's like, no, his press release completely stated he is against it 100%. But they try to change the narrative. Even our local or our local paper, which is the Pioneer, which is run by Hearst Corporation, they are the most liberal left-wing paper. They won't report the truth to save their life. I had JD Vance here at my farm maybe a month ago, and I told the Pioneer about it on Saturday. They put it in the Pioneer on Monday. The rally was on Tuesday, and they put that JD Vance would be showing up somewhere in Michigan on the following week, knowing that it was at my farm. And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. You are banned from the farm. So we wouldn't let any of the reporters come in. And so now they lost hundreds of subscriptions, and they're mad at me. And I'm like, good, I'm glad. I hope that you lose all of them, because you're a corrupt newspaper and you'll never come on my farm, and we'll never get an interview from us again. And you won't know about anything from now on. And then the group of them even had the audacity. They couldn't hide the fact that we were doing it, because obviously you've got the Secret Service here and great big cranes with flags and stages being made. So then they put out to the factories and to the hospitals flyers that copied our flyers, but changed the time from 11 to 5 p.m. that night.
You're kidding. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely not. It is. I had people, like, literally probably 80, 90 people showed up at 6 o'clock the night of after our rally, where everyone was gone. The fields were cleaned up. We had thousands of people here, and we had just been cleaning up everything. And they show up and they're like, no, this is a flyer. And it was our flyer. They just changed the time so that people would be, misinformation.
Do you know who did it?
That's how corrupt these people are.
Do you know who did it?
Oh, absolutely. I know who did it.
Can you say?
I really can't say, but there's a group of 8 people in town, and they're responsible for all of this. They still think that they're going to be, they've signed NDAs with Bill Pink at Ferris. They've signed NDAs with Goshen. They're in with their Goshen meetings. We know who they are. And one of them's running for state representative. You can figure it out. They are corrupt as all get out, and they're the ones that are going around doing this and trying to get people to drop their sponsorships of people. They are just corrupt all the way through. And but then in their little, you go to their meetings, they're like, oh, we want community and we want everything to come back together. It's like, oh my God, you do not. Here's all your lies. I've got all your texts from a year ago. And so I keep, I go to the rallies and hand out the real people and what they're really for, But they're a corrupt bunch of people, man. And there's not a lot of them. It's about 12 people, but they're very, very loud. And they seem to think that they are in charge of the community. One of the ladies, we call her the chocolate queen. She thinks she's in charge of everything, and you can bring her any of the findings, and she won't look at them. She'll throw them in the trash. It's like they've got blinders. They want to believe that Goshen is good and Goshen is great for the community. And no matter what people are saying, or no matter what dirt comes out on them, and all the bribes and the collusion and all the other stuff, they will not look at it. And it's like, these are court documents. This isn't hearsay. This is from the court. These are direct quotations from your people that you so believe in. And it shows the dirt, and it shows them taking money and making bribes and offering trips to people and whatnot. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The people that matter are the ones that are in our community, and they know the truth now. So I'm hoping this new election, because a couple of our people are up for re-election, and I'm hoping to God that, we continue to be very successful.
Wow.
And keeping our people in.
It's just, I was looking up to see if I could figure out it's hard for me to do that when I'm online, but I want to find out who your candidate is that's up there doing the wrong thing. So
Tracy Ruel's her name.
Tracy Ruel. Yeah, I think we should throw the names out there.
I think so. Why not? Why be,
what do you got to hide? I mean, these people are so freaking corrupt. It's
I
like
know.
people need to know who they are. Throw it out there. Throw them all over the map.
Throw it out. Well, it's in the court documents. Her and a guy named Mark Bloxham in town have a list of 30 people they were going to blackball their companies. Jim Chapman, who was the supervisor, came and gave them the list of people that signed the recall, and they're going to blackball every one of those people in the community. Is that
really?
crappy or what? I mean, it's written right there.
That is a clear and present threat. They should be sued into oblivion.
I know.
For threatening an American citizen. And I don't care who, if they agree or disagree, they should be sued into oblivion.
I think they should too. And I'm actually meeting with an attorney group on Monday, and I'm hoping that one of them will take our case. And I would love to do a class action lawsuit against all of them, because they've cost us, I can't even tell you how much money in lost jobs, husbands' jobs lost. The jobs that have gone after it, they've put like my company 1-star ratings and stuff. These are corrupt individuals, and it was all brought on by our supervisor, that Jim Chapman. He and Chuck Phelan connived all this stuff to go after. Who goes after someone's divorce records of a community member? I'm not an elected official. I'm just somebody in the community. I have a business. I have a farm. That's it. And they went through and pawed through 2,000 pages of divorce papers.
Oh wow!
How creepy is that?
That's stalker level. Oh, there's another lawsuit for you.
I'm telling you.
Stalking. You can get stalking on that.
They're creepy. They're absolutely creepy. And now that it's all come out, it's like, I knew they were doing it. We had people from the courthouse tell me they had 6 people and they're just pawing through my divorce records last year. And I'm like, what? Why? But they were trying to find dirt on me.
They wasted taxpayer money to do that.
Absolutely.
To stalk you and for blackmail, oh my gosh, these people are horrible.
They are horrible. And the thing is, we have it all documented, and it's, I knew it was happening, but to see it come out in the testimony was like, oh yeah, I knew this was going on. And now we'll just expose it. It's just more corruption, and like I said, I made copies and copies and handed them out to the township people, because I want them to know how dirty they are. Because he's orchestrating the people trying to take over the township again. They've got another election coming up, and those people are his puppets. And I'm like, oh, because this guy named Percy's trying to run against Jason Cruz, who's our supervisor, who's a good guy. And he came right up to the meeting the other night and said, oh yeah, I think Goshen's good, and you guys just need to you need to find your place, and you need to realize that we're going to do what's best for the community, not what you care about. Yeah. Oh, you should have heard everybody scream at him. I mean, he was more or less booed out of the meeting. It's like, you're a jerk. No, we got rid of people like you, and we'll get rid of you too. Wow. You have no chance. So I'm sure he won't get elected. Jason's a good guy, and they've they make up lies. They said that because of the lawsuit that they're running the township into bankruptcy. Well, we did a comparison from last year to this year, and our township's up $1 million. Same time, same day. And they're up $1 million because they don't have the corruption going on anymore. Wow. And it's like, that came out too. And I'm like, don't lie about it, and don't give misinformation to the community. You're a liar. We're in way better shape than we were before. And then it showed when Jim Chapman took over, we had like $400,000 extra in our account. Well, during the time that he took it, there's a graph that shows where it is now to where when he got kicked out, and it went down almost $400,000. I'm like, and who was elected then? And they're like, Jim Chapman. I'm like, oh, so our people don't want to come out and name names, but I will. I'm like, so when Jim Chapman took over, all this money disappeared, and now it's all going back up the minute, after last year in October or November, whatever, when the election was, now it's gone back up. Wow, who is the corrupt? Who is the one that was bad here? But they try to give misinformation, and they feed it to the paper, misinformation. And when you try to correct the Pioneer, they won't do any rebuttals to show that they were lied to the community. It is a disgrace. The media is bought and paid for, and Hearst Publications is a absolute disgrace. And I brought it up 5 times. I said, when are you going to put all these court docs that we just found? I've called them 5 days a week. Last week, every day of the week, I called Pioneer wanting to know when the article is going to be in to show the corruption and the bribery and all the other stuff. They won't print any of it. It's just disgusting.
No, of course. Yeah. Well, and that's their game. It's like it's an organized crime syndicate, a global organized crime syndicate, and they're all working together. They call each other up for favors. And
yeah.
and I tell you what, the developers that are involved in this, I am so disgusted by what I see with development that's going on all over. They don't really the whole process is backwards. What is the benefit to the citizenry? Absolutely nothing. We do not benefit from
We're not getting anything out of this.
We go in reverse because it destroys our property values as they peg us into these 15-minute type cities and the PUDs and all of it. It absolutely brings down the value of the community until they gobble this up like the parasites they are, to gobble up the entirety of the area, all the farmland, any square inch they can build on, and then they let it go to hell.
And then we're responsible for the cleanup. And they want to bring 220,000 tons of lithium in a day here. It's like, are you out of your mind? We're sitting on one of the top 3 aquifers in Michigan. You know what one rainstorm would do with lithium dust? It'll poison everything. And there's not one environmental group that's helping me. I reached out to 39 environmental groups in Michigan. Nobody helped me.
And then one convenient. And where's PETA when all of this animal abuse?
Where's PETA? Where is
whatever the rest of it is?
The Trump people, the Whitetails Unlimited. None of them. And then one of them had the audacity to call me back and say, "Sorry, Lori, we'd love to help you. We'll get involved when there's a cleanup or whatever, but we can't lose our funding from Whitmer. We've already been warned to stay away from you." I'm like, you're. I go, and I told him, I go, "You're a piece of shit. You guys are horrible." The Muskegon watershed, the Great Lakes watershed, none of them would return a phone call to me. Do you know how awful that is when we're a quarter mile away from the Muskegon River, which jumps into the Great Lakes? It could poison everything. And they don't give a shit. They just don't give a shit.
They don't care because they truly they want to kill people. That's what they're doing.
Yep.
The money is going to be worth it. What are they going to do with money when they've literally decimated all of our natural resources, which is the logging, the minerals, the water, all of it? If they can destroy that, it's the same thing they did with the Transcontinental Railroad. They put this little strip of railroad through millions of acres, and they exterminated the American bison, which was feeding a lot of people. What was that for? To kill people so they could do their secret crap out there. And how much land out there have they commandeered for their little secret bases and such? I mean, I've seen them because you can't even fly a drone over them. I mean, everything out there is hidden. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Pen us in, and then they've got the run of the planet, and they only use us when they need to. And if you don't help them, guess what? Off with your head.
Yeah, they would have loved to have taken my farm down. Like they turned me into agriculture and rural development last year. I have an organic farm. There's nothing. We don't use any pesticides. We use lime only and cow manure, horse manure to fertilize our land. And I was turned into the state, and they tried to shut me down that way. If it wasn't for Pete Hoekstra coming to help me and filing a counterclaim against the state of Michigan for government overreach, they might have shut my farm down. I was never polluting anything, but they said it was, they escalated it because of the pollution that I was causing. And there was no pollution. There's nothing. They came here and tried to make a big deal. Well, Pete brought a whole bunch of TV stations with him. And so they left me alone. But when we found out all this, you wouldn't believe how intertied a lot of these people are. The MEDC is corrupt. The place is corrupt. Bill Pink, who will tell you he's not involved with Goshen, he offered to house all the Chinese nationalists here at Ferris State University. The reason they want here is because Ferris started a new cybersecurity program last fall. That's why the Chinese want here, is they want to spy on us. When I brought it up to Bill Pink, I wanted to talk to him about it. He wouldn't talk to me. He absolutely denied having anything to do with Goshen. No way. He didn't have an opinion one way or the other with them. Well, then I went to the MEDC to show them that we didn't need the jobs because we have 1,800 jobs available in this community right now. He's on the board of the right place. Bill Pink's on the board of the MEDC. He's on the board of Mecosta County Environment or Economic Development. He's a damn liar. He was involved all along and lied to all the people that had called and asked him about it. And he said he had no issue with them. He didn't have any connection with them. And then just recently we found out he was traveling with Whitmer to Taiwan. How corrupt is that? And there's NDAs flying all over. The corruption is so deep, it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Chuck Thielen is the the vice president to Goshen. Randy Thielen is the the president or vice president of the it's either the MEDC or the right place, one or the other. They denied knowing each other until until I sent a picture of them hugging each other at a family reunion. I'm like, oh, you denied knowing each other, but here's a picture of you two together. The guy who sent the complaint on me with rural development, his name was Jared Thielen, I believe. So they're all Thielens. They're they're all colluding together, and yet they deny knowing each other. It's like, come on, you guys. This is all you guys set this up years ago. Whitmer is pretty clever. She got all these people in all these places to push everything that she wanted in, and there's no checks and balances. They just unanimously agree. Give the money here, even though you have 150 people there stating, "Do not give us the money. We don't want the money. We don't want this here." They unanimously send it through. And then, Bill Pink says, "Oh, I wasn't a part of that." It's like, yeah, you're on the board, you jerk, and you voted for it. The lies are unbelievable. I'm just so sick of the corruption. And then, you can't get a straight answer. When you call him to his office, he'll say, "Oh, we don't have any comment. We're not part of that." It's like, you're a liar. And the reason they wanted here was because of the cybersecurity. The Chinese nationalists didn't care about anything else. What they cared about was where the cybersecurity building was, period. When they were supposed to go on.
Water supply so you can get rid of the people and then just take over the natural resources.
Right.
That's what this is all about.
It's our water supply. That's our number one. That's what we, Michigan and pure water, that has always been pure Michigan, blah, blah, blah. Whitmer has ruined that. She's just wanting to contaminate our area and sell us out to the highest bidder. And it makes me sick. She's next on our list. I mean, honestly, we have to go and we have to expose her as well because she has been so dirty. And, she won't even come here. She won't come here. She won't answer emails or questions. I have sent so many emails to that woman. In fact, the Detroit News gave me one of the nominations for the Michigander of the Year. And she was there as well. I tried to have conversation with her and she freaking bolted. She left the awards meeting early and wouldn't talk to me, and made up a lie saying that she had an important meeting at Camp Grayling that she forgot about that had to go to. And Pete Hoekstra's like, "No way. That meeting's next week. She just lied because she didn't want to confront you." Like, wow. What a coward.
What a piece of work.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Well, Lori, I appreciate you coming on today. Let's say a prayer for you and everyone out there, because there's just so much corruption going on. It's incredible. And I really think that, you're such a great example of standing in, when it looks like all hope is lost, it's amazing how God steps in. And
that is the truth.
Is everything. It really does. When we get to the end of ourselves, that's when God steps in and he helps. So would you like to pray or would you like me to pray?
I would love it if you'd pray for us.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very, very much for all your wonderful blessings that you're giving us and leading us out of this horrible situation we're in where these people have tried to remove you and they're also trying to remove us and stealing your land, stealing what's happened to ruin it. That's what this is all about. It's amazing, the war on you that's going on here. We ask that you would please give everyone strength in their heart, that they would absolutely not back down, stand unwavering, do what needs to be done, and not be afraid going into situations where we have to confront this criminality. It seems like it's overwhelming, but we know that you truly are in charge of everything and that you know where this is going. And you've got, even though it feels like it's out of control for us, it is out of our control, but it's in your control. And we thank you for that so much. Thank you for every single person who is willing to step forward and do small things, big things, or whatever it is that you call each of us to do in the roles that you're calling us to fulfill. Thank you so much for good people everywhere. We ask that you would completely and totally destroy and confuse the plans of the enemy to destroy the state, people's lands, our freedom, that you would completely confuse them, that you would send an incredible amount of redirection and confusion for them so that they can't accomplish anything, that the bad people cannot accomplish anything, and that they would turn their hearts to you and be healed, because we know that our battle is with principalities and powers. It's not with flesh and blood. So please be with them and everybody else out there who's struggling with some anxiety and and concern about what's going on. We know that this is not our home. It's a temporary place for us to be and to shine for you every step of the way, every word, every action. We want to be in service to you in this land that you've given us. Thank you so much for being a great friend to us. You've just been a wonderful friend, and we want to be a friend to you. We love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
May his favor be upon you and everything that you do, seriously, so that, you know, that whatever you do is blessed. And I'm pretty sure that you've already got his blessing right now. It sure sounds like it.
We're doing good. And put it out too. If anybody else needs help, we are very willing to help other communities that are going through this. I will come if you just reach out to me. I will gladly come to your community and speak about how dangerous this is and how to, prepare yourself for it so it doesn't happen to your community. We want to be proactive to help other areas as well. And we're uniting other communities going through this. So please, if you need help, reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you.
Well, I appreciate that so much. So, boys and girls, this is the end of the show, and we're going to go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I want a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this. And we're both wearing cowboy boots. That would be a lot of fun. Anyhow, everyone out there, remember, there's a lot of good people doing good things, and you can say you have faith all you want, but if you're not willing to work, it doesn't count. It's like faith without works is dead. You've got to just step forward and do something and have faith. God will never call you to do something that he doesn't equip you for. But you got to take that first step of faith and just step out and do something, do anything that God put on your heart. And that's how we win this game and hold them accountable. So with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. And if you don't have a good example, be one. That's what it takes to take this nation back. Thank you so much, Lori, for coming on today. Stay on the line. I'm going to end this in a minute. We'll just talk for a second when we get offline. I wish you guys were all here to hear these backstage, conversations, because they're really fun. So I might publish them someday.